Hello and welcome to edumate.tv. I'm Chetan. In the field of education, particularly, they say, the only thing constant is change. In a pandemic, they say, the only thing certain is uncertainty. It's important to consider that all progress comes from change. But it's even more important to consider that all change does not lead to progress. And that's what makes the situation rather unique as we try and understand the challenges and provide solutions across the world. And most importantly, to create opportunities in the world of education and beyond. We at edumate.tv have taken upon us a mission to bring together the ecosphere of education, be it the parent, student, the teacher, the principal, the professor, the vice chancellor, the educationist, the educrat, the edu minister, on a common platform to discuss, debate, analyze, as we deal with a very unique situation and try and come up with unique solutions. This program is brought to you by Education, a company that looks at taking education ahead, not just in this country, but across the world. And today we presently, in fact, bring to you a very special episode, our second, as we move and we across boundaries. It's not just love, but even education, which takes us to a language which is common to all of us, as we deal with unique and common problems. Our global chapter initiates from today outside the realms of just South Asia, which is our first chapter, with some very, very special guests from the United States, from Sri Lanka, from London, and closer to home, from Iran and Bangladesh, as well as India. Let's take a look at who our very special guests are for today. Well, it's time now to start our webinar, our conversation, our symposium, our colloquium on the intriguing subject of the Candid COVID conversations. Challenges, solutions, and opportunities. We'll break this webinar into two halves. The first half will deal with challenges and solutions, and the next half, the most interesting part from my point of view, will deal with the unique opportunities that this environment throws for all of us. Well, we've got a diverse set of subject experts, diverse countries. We've got a diverse set of insights. Let's start by first asking Dr. Robert from Texas. Thank you for joining us, sir. Your three unique challenges which 2020 threw upon you and the solutions which you and your university were able to come up with.
Today, given the rate of change, and we've studied this in the technology sector, but it's true in other areas as well, the rate of change is so fast that education, to keep pace, needs to move at a faster pace than it has traditionally moved. So that's the first challenge that I would note. Second one I would note is that the nature of knowledge, and here this is actually, we can see it even more clearly in the context of the pandemic. If we think about the problems and challenges we are engaging globally in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, those challenges and problems are not uniquely legal issues or financial issues or biological issues or technological issues. Instead, they really operate at the intersection of all of those. And a challenge, it seems to me, for education broadly is that we have traditionally thought about our educational models as operating in silos. I'm a professor of law. Someone else is a professor of sociology. Someone else is a professor of biology. And what we are trying to accomplish is achieving the maximum level of depth within each of those silos. The reality is that the nature of problems today that the world is facing, that our students will go into the world to engage, are cross-disciplinary. If we are not giving them grounding across disciplines, we are failing them. And finally, and this is a challenge I would say for traditional educational institutions. So then the solutions. First of all, I would say that, and again, very much this does tie into the coronavirus. I said if there was ever a time to seek forgiveness rather than permission in higher education, it's now. if we were to get ahead of this. So our law school, for example, has been able to open for in-person classes. But some of that is we didn't wait for the regulatory and the bureaucratic processes to run their course. We made a decision to do something, and then we went ahead and submitted the paperwork, knowing that so that it would run its course and take its time, and it would get to the right result. So the first thing I would say is that educational institutions need to embrace the new normal, as we are terming our panel, in terms of streamlining their decision-making processes. Second one is, I would say, rewarding innovators. So when I look at my faculty, there are those who are still struggling. How do I use Zoom? How do I do breakout groups? These kinds of things. And there are those who have dived in with both feet. There are those who have said, I want to do this, I want to figure this out. But that's true more generally too. We have faculty and administrators and deans who want to create new programs, new initiatives, et cetera, et cetera. Universities need to be able to distinctly reward those faculty and those students if they are to thrive and succeed in this new normal. And finally, partnerships, and that's obviously a natural topic for today's session. And I don't mean just partnerships. We are building at Texas A&M University Law School lots of partnerships with institutions, with universities in India. But we're also building partnerships with the Confederation of Indian Industry and with other private sector institutions and with private service providers, right? Non-traditional education providers in India and around the world.
Our population, the student population, most of them are from rural background. The first challenge was that we could not, conduct online classes for them because most of the students did not have access to internet, and some of them don't have even smartphones or laptops. So because of these reasons, we found it difficult to conduct online classes. And also the teachers, most of the teachers, the lecturers here, working, I'm attached to Faculty of Arts. So in the Faculty of Arts, the teachers lack experience in handling these online tools. So they are some of them are very new to these online platforms. So they require training in using this online platform. So because of these reasons, we could not conduct teaching for our students. So what the solutions we did was, the first thing is, the university, they summoned a meeting, they convened a meeting, and all the faculties participated in the meeting where the Vice Chancellor was present, and all of us made our complaints, the problems. We told our problems to the Vice Chancellor and the faculty members. Then it was taken to the ministry and the UGC. Afterwards, they took initiatives to donate phones, smartphones, and laptops to the students. So now, since the COVID is very much under control in our country. Now, recently we have started the face-to-face mode lectures. So now the students are coming from all parts of the country, and see what right now the problem is that to how because we have to follow the COVID instructions given by the health Ministry of Health. So we can't accommodate all the students in our university hostels. So now we are trying to hire more houses and houses from outside, and maybe in a couple of weeks we will accommodate all the students, and then we are planning to go back to the normal traditional mode of lectures. Conducting traditional lectures.
Regarding educational problems, I can refer to learning suspension. As we know, because COVID-19 was somehow some some specific, something that we have never thought about it before, some experience that we have never had it before. So that is why when the schools were closed, we see the learning was suspended, and we see the interruption in learning. So that's why the students, we didn't know, even the government, because it was for the first time that we have ever, experienced such global experience. It was a health problem, so we have never come across that. That's why the schools were closed, and we were waiting for things to happen. We were waiting for a savior to come, a vaccine. Okay, so that's why the learning was suspended and learning was interrupted actually. The second challenges that we've got was the lack of online education facilities. So it was one of the most important things that it was a real challenge that the students in Iran, most of the students in the world, they face. Most of the students, they didn't have any internet, so internet was not available for them. The smartphones, the phones, the online system, so it was really difficult for them to have that one, okay? If we are going to talk about the solutions, I can say that the best way for learning suspension is conveying the culture of learning, okay? Convey the culture of self-learning. Self-learning play an important role, and it gives us, all the learners, all the institutions, if they convey this sense of this culture of self-learning, so it's really important. And in my opinion, if the students learn how to self-learn, all the problems will be happen, okay? In this case, when the students, the learners have got lots of problems, they go and find their problems. They never wait for things to happen. They never wait for a teacher to come and solve their problems. And also the most important part here is that the role of the teachers are changing. The teachers are not the center. In my opinion, the students are, the classes will be like, the online classes will be changed to somehow like student center classes, and the teacher role is supporting the students.
I believe that both India, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh share a similar kind of socio-cultural and socio-economic background. So the experience that I'm going to talk about will have overlapping elements. So it's almost the similar kind of thing. And for me, the three challenges, if I want to sum up and put it like this, and the first one will be the lack of training, both for the teachers and for the students, and secondly, the mindset of the teachers and the students, and then last one is the more practical one, that is the technical issues involved in conducting online classes or in conducting education online, like internet speed, electricity problem, network issues, etc. Now, for the first two things, it is just after March or before March, none of us had any idea that classes can be held like this. There have been numerous occasions in our lives when we were not able to take the classes by reaching to the classroom on time. And the similar kind of thing happened for the students. But we have never explored that, okay, if I cannot reach my class because of traffic jam, as this is a very burning issue in this part of the world, or maybe I'm not feeling well, or some other technical or environmental or some political unrest, something like this. If I am not able to take the class by going to the classroom, I can compensate that by offering my classes online. It's not that Zoom or Google Meet or Google Classroom, all these things were not there before March. These things were there, but we didn't have the capacities.
The idea that students think when they're on Zoom, somehow we don't know them or we won't call them by name, I think was my initial challenge. So I, to make it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more humorous, and to engage them through that humor was one of my biggest challenges, I think, initially. So over a period of time, then when somebody answers, for instance, when say Miss Sarah answers, and I go, oh, Miss Sarah of the $20 million fame, right? And so, then there's a way to interact in a different way in class. And so that setting that tone was the difficult part initially. The other is to engage students and to ensure that they are engaged back. A lot of times students know that sometimes we don't watch them as closely. So to let them know that, learning is not, there's going to be no difference in learning because of COVID, right? Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's different. But it's not something that will change the content or the material or what's expected of them in terms of work will not change. That's something that I found initially to navigate was difficult. But the only biggest challenge I did face is to understand how much I did not know. Right? Because I used Zoom before, there was this feeling that, oh, of course I can teach this class in Zoom, right? And then you suddenly realize, yes, I mean, you can teach a class in Zoom, but there's so much more to learn. So to transform into a learner simultaneously was the most difficult thing. Especially in the US, students don't have a problem with phones. However, for them to use phones for a learning purpose is a new phenomenon, right? So to tell them, look, yes, I'm so glad you have phones, right? And you don't have that issue, but now you use it for a more sort of positive thing rather than to talk or whatever it is they're doing. And to get that into their heads, I thought was a bit of a challenge. What we do, and that's because if I do want to say Dean Adier facilitated what we now call as a hybrid class. So there are some students who are actually in class, and then there are some remote learners. So we've facilitated that for both of these learners. Of course, for many of us, that's an operational challenge, right? Because so I walk in the first day, and the first thing students say, oh, I can't see you behind the glass. The fact is they can't ever see me, whether behind the glass, because I'm so small. But now I have this additional challenge of I can't see you behind the glass. And then, of course, my mask popped out. It started popping out every 2 seconds. And so, here I am trying to enforce a mask policy with my mask popping out. And then I thought the biggest operational challenge was the hybrid learners, the ones who were remotely learning. They thought somehow these questions won't go to them. Or there are students in front of her. She's going to naturally call the students in front of her to answer. But obviously I'm going to try to catch on the online learners. And many of them will go, oh, me? Yes, of course you, because I can't see you. I see the people in front of me and I know they're learning, right? So you're the obvious target. And then, of course, to make a joke and make them relax. So that was to get into a new system really was what, and to be aware that we are transforming, that's the biggest challenge.
Now, undeniably, National Education Policy 2020 changes are quite progressive and futuristic, but there persist certain challenges, especially in its implementation, to discuss some implementation. So with regard to, I can say, technology utilization, adequate infrastructure, and I think national educational policy and this execution challenges with regard to the executions. So there are many things like that. So if as for example, if technology utilization, if I say, then during tough times like COVID-19, the way teachers have shifted to online education is indeed commendable. However, more familiarity and tech friendliness, I can say, are vital to ensure a seamless. So learning experience for students, though digital modes. So without proper technology utilization, teachers are likely to encounter challenges in assuring collaborative learning, active student participation, and smooth adaptation of digital study materials. So moreover, teaching subjects like physical education, mathematics, law, etc., online remain a challenge basically?
I'll start with what is already known. We are living in what is known as the VUCA world, which is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity.
Right.
Okay. That has been underlined and underscored and overscored, whichever way you like to put it, in every field of our living. And education is no different. However, one of the things that needs to be said is one sector which tried and has made constant effort over the last 4-5 months is bouncing back to as near normal as possible. 10 major stakeholders, as I was talking to you. First, of course, the students, then the teachers, then the staff and the administrators of the university, then, of course, the parents, community, the elected representatives, the government, and the regulators. All these form the ecosystem, and each one of us have now had to somehow, like you rightly said, have to come together, have to coalesce, have to collaborate to be able to make education a success. It has been a never before experience, at least not in my living memory. However, what is really fascinating is that all these, 10 stakeholders or 11 stakeholders have really tried to do their best.
It's often said that, the coronavirus has come to take a breather in life, right? So we'll take a breather as well. The only difference being that our breather is going to be a time breather for 4 minutes. We'll come back. Stay with us.
Imagine you were born in 1900. When you were 14, the World War I begins and ends when you were 18, with 22 million people dead. Soon after the global pandemic, the Spanish flu appears, killing 50 million people, and you are alive and 20 years old. When you were 29, you survived the global economic crisis that started with the collapse of the New York Stock Exchange, causing inflation, unemployment, and famine. When you were 33, the Nazis came to power. And when you were 39, the World War II begins and ends when you're 45, with 60 million people dead. And in the Holocaust, 6 million Jews died. When you were 52, the Korean War begins. When you were 64, the Vietnam War begins and ends when you were 75. A child born in 1985 thinks his grandparents have no idea how difficult life is, but they have survived several wars and catastrophes. Today, we have all the comfort in our new world amid a new pandemic, but we complain because we have to, because we need to wear masks. We complain because we must stay confined to our homes, where we have food, electricity, running water, Wi-Fi, and even Netflix. None of that existed back in the day, but humanity survived those circumstances and never lost their joy of living. A small change in our perspective can generate miracles. We should be thankful that we are alive. We should do everything we need to protect and help each other.
Welcome back to this special episode at readymade.tv, where we are espousing our global chapter on the coronavirus pandemic, discussing challenges, solutions, and of course, opportunities. We've taken a leaf out of Dr. Srividya's book to bring you a little bit of humor to make it more engaging for each and every one of us. So thank you for that. One of the mottos on readymade.tv is to infuse positivity in what we do. And that's the reason we chose in our first section to have solutions along with challenges. But it doesn't stop at positivity. It's got to expand to progress. And that progress can only come when we start looking at obstacles from the lens of opportunities. So our next section will bring us to the 3 top opportunities which each of our credible luminary guests have for today.
That a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. And it really is, there's some truth to that. There is tremendous opportunity at this moment for those institutions that seize it. So again, I'm going to give my 3 lists, but I say one other quick point is, I have been struck as I've observed almost every sector, law schools, which I know well, universities more broadly, accounting firms, law firms, hair salons, gas stations. I look at 2 institutions that as of 6 months ago looked very similar. Their financial situation was similar. They were geographically similarly situated. Their business was similar. 6 months later, one of them is on the cusp of bankruptcy. One of them is barely hanging on. And one of them has never done better. One of them has never seen a more profitable quarter or a more profitable month in their career. So from my vantage, there is really, this is a moment when those institutions, those academic institutions and other businesses that identify where there is opportunity and seize that opportunity can thrive and succeed. And those that don't do it, those who keep trying to do the same thing and hope for different results, really face this incredible peril that they fall behind it.
See, in our culture, in our society, mostly, the parents don't want their children use these laptops or mobile phones very often, because they think that children might, get spoiled by using these mobile phones and internet very often. But so during this pandemic, irrespective of the class and the socio-economic background, all parents understood one fact, that this new platform, online education, is an unavoidable one. So the student, their children must be exposed to this online education. So they must get used to the mobile phones and the laptops with the internet connection. So now most of the parents, develop that attitude, positive attitude towards the use of these mobile phones and internet. So that is one great change.
We experienced or explored new ways of learning, and because of this pandemic situation, our orientation towards learning and teaching has changed. So now we know that we can actually self-learn, we can self-teach, we can rely on other sources and resources for enriching us. Classroom and teachers are not the one and only sources for learning. We can explore other ways. Okay, so we are going towards self-reliant learning, perhaps. Then let me be optimistic that Corona will go someday. But our capacity that we have developed, the skills that we have acquired during these days will stay with us and will help us enrich our learning experiences in future in a more comprehensive manner. I mean to say that we will be able to be more creative and highly imaginative and come up with newer ways of teaching. Like, we will incorporate more blended learning approaches, or maybe flipped classroom approaches, complementary to our regular classroom.
Regarding opportunities, as I told you before, so definitely self-learning as a solution can be an opportunity when it comes to this opportunity, because it can be regarded as an opportunity because the students will be much more self-raised, self-confident, and also they can be talentful. So we cannot forget this opportunity. And another opportunity that it comes in my mind is we've got the opportunity to study and research. The students, the learners who are interested in studying. So it's a good opportunity. They can study whatever they want. They can read the novels that they were dreamed of reading that before. And about research, for example, those researchers that they love doing research, so it's a good opportunity for them to write down what comes to their minds. So it's a good opportunity for them.
And going digital has helped, to me, voices of academics around the world. Hearing that has been an important opportunity, right? I mean, where else would I get the opportunity to hear about hear Dr. Nasheed's, views and, Dr. Masheed's views, right, on issues in Iran and Bangladesh. So I think it absolutely opens up the ability to make it more inclusive, to make the discussion more robust. Then we talked about digital divide. And there is always this assumption that digital divide is only in countries like, say, India, Bangladesh, and Iran. The coronavirus has opened up to the digital divide within the US, right? So a lot of times kids come to campus, they stay in the dorms, and we never know their backgrounds. We never know issues that they've faced, right? So now with everybody going digital, we realize that digital divide is a global phenomena. Right? It's opened up to, I've struggled through my career, right? To show empathy, to teach empathy to my US students, right? The idea of access to everybody. The idea that there are people who, it's not that they are incapable, it's just that some things are inaccessible to them. And now, this is an opportunity for me to teach them a little bit of awareness of the globe, right? And it also, in some ways, is highlighted. It's brought down that American exceptionalism, which I think has been, it's been good for the American ego in a lot of ways, honestly. And it's also showed some of the issues in the US. The US has to look at healthcare, all from digital, digital divide, healthcare and empathy, things that shows a divisiveness which we were able to, in some ways, not bring to the forefront. We kind of assumed it wasn't there in a developed country.
So while almost every sector struggles to cope with COVID-19 effects, education continues to evolve with new light of hope. So the sudden transition from conventional to digital learning has instilled confidence and a realization about much needed change. So additionally, with the progressive National Education Policy 2020 in existence, it offers academic institutions the opportunity to self-empower teachers, focus more on skill development, upgrade technology and infrastructure, and make education more accessible. This is number one. Number two, for students, this gives an excellent scope to traverse beyond their, textual boundaries, explore the broader world via internet, and learn new techniques related to video presentation, Google Classrooms, online assignment presentations, etc. They're also learning to use various software for audio and video editing, photo editing, creating mobile content, and many more. And with third is with practical exposure going off the table for the immediate few years. It's scope for alternative paradigms and new collaborations for teaching, research and learning. Virtual lectures, joint teaching sessions with global universities can provide them with a great exposure even amid the coronavirus pandemic. So the bottom line is, regardless of how tough the situation is, success always comes with preparedness when an opportunity crops up. So instead of getting completely bogged down, right, we need to move forward with innovative changes and adapt to the new normal efficiently.
As we go into this mixed bag of, like I described you three, is how do we encourage social interaction? Because being a first-class engineer doesn't help. You have to be part of the entire, social ecosystem. I just want to add one thing. I have been your admirer for a long, long time, and it's great interacting with you so closely. Thank you,
Thank
Chetan. Thank you for having me on this show. I think you are running a great mission, and this is the right time. This is the right time when you can take it forward, and please try and reach as many people as you can in the education world, not only the faculty and the students, but more importantly, the people who are behind the scene, the administrators, the regulators. Those are the people who need to now look at this with a different paradigm. That is all I can say. All my best wishes to you, and may you succeed in your mission.
So there you are, Dr. Robert, Dr. Srividya, Dr. Karunakaran, Dr. Marshall, Dr. Naushad, and Dr. Ripon. Speaking to you has not been a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've learned so much from each and every one of you, and I thank you for being what you are, for highlighting and being so insightful and integral in your approach and innovative as well. And I hope each of you have learned from each other from this very special webinar. I thank Najma and the team of Dilpreet, Swati and Rimi for stitching this together for all of us. The saying goes that all of us are in the same boat. I'm not quite sure and I agree with that. For me, all of us are actually in the same storm. Our boats are very different. And just the way each and every one of you have chosen to keep your boat afloat itself is a great learning. Thank you for being exactly what you are. And I always say on edumate.tv, the only way to fight the big C called COVID is by the 3 C's of being collective, creative, and correct. You all have been just that. And at the end of it all, don't forget, educate better, you'd better educate.